Hello everybody, my name is Absent Atlas, and welcome to another video. Yesterday was the 4th of July, also known as American Independence Day, and while it's typically a day of patriotism and celebration of our country, it does feel kinda hard to find reasons to celebrate this year. Hundreds of mass shootings, widespread attacks on civil rights, and police brutality have redefined the term American exceptionalism. Today, I'd like to talk about the unique gun violence epidemic America is facing right now. Yesterday, during a 4th of July parade at Highland Park, 6 people were killed and dozens injured during a mass shooting. And, of course, it's incredibly horrifying, but also ironic. On the day that Americans were supposed to celebrate freedom from tyranny, we are reminded that one freedom we do not have is the freedom to live without constantly fearing mass shootings. And yeah, you know the shit is really starting to spiral the fuck out of control when I have to adjust the script I wrote within hours of starting to write it because another mass shooting took place. At the time of writing this, reports came in that 2 police officers had been shot in Philadelphia during another 4th of July event. Now, typically, nations with the highest rates of gun violence tend to be poorer, developing nations, with one glaringly obvious exception: the United States of America. The United States is the developed nation with the most gun violence, with the number of gun deaths standing at 4 deaths per 100,000 people. The next developed nation on the list doesn't even come close, and that nation is Cyprus, with the number of gun deaths standing at 0.628 per 100,000 people. Now, 4 deaths per 100,000 people doesn't seem like all that much. But remember, the United States has a population of approximately 330 million people. In 2020, there were 19,384 people murdered with guns in the US. Combine that with the world's highest rate of gun suicide at 7.1 people murdered per 100,000 and accidents, and you get a total of 45,222 gun deaths in 2020. That's like if 9/11 happened 15 times over every single year. So yes, this gun violence epidemic is a uniquely American problem. But why? Many people have their own little theories ranging from mental health issues to video games, but in reality the answer is so very simple. It's because we have way too many guns. The United States accounts for 4% of the world's population, yet we own 42% of the world's guns. And if we take a look at the numbers, there's a clear correlation between the number of guns a country owns and the number of mass shootings that occur. In addition to that, it's also incredibly easy to get a gun in the United States. In the United States, you have to be over the age of 21 to drink, gamble, smoke, and more. In order to purchase a rifle or shotgun, you just have to be over the age of 18. In the United States, you need a license to drive, fish, hunt, and sell real estate. But you don't need any sort of license in order to buy a gun. Now, some states have background check laws in place for people purchasing guns, while others have resisted the calls for background checks for years. However, our current system of background checks is notoriously full of loopholes, and some of them are flat out ridiculous. For example, the FBI has 3 days to conduct a background check on an individual looking to buy a gun. And if for some reason the FBI fails to conduct it within that period of time, then the individual can just buy the weapon. Quote, the Nazi sympathizer who killed 9 people at a black church in Charleston, South Carolina in 2015 should not have been able to purchase the handgun he had used because he had previously admitted to drug possession, according to the New York Times. But the gun seller didn't get an answer from the FBI within 3 days, so on the 4th day, the future killer walked away with a Glock 41.45 caliber handgun.
And here's the kicker. If you are a suspected terrorist, you can still buy a gun. But here's the thing. Even though half the country doesn't have background checks, most of the country does want them, which is completely and entirely reasonable. Quote, laws requiring background checks on all gun sales enjoy broad public approval, with poll after poll demonstrating overwhelming support, including from 87% of gun owners and 89% of Republicans. And that's according to polling done by, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Quinnipiac University. And the results are pretty consistent across other pollsters as well. So, riddle me this. If practically the entire country favors background checks, then why hasn't anything been done about it? Well, one of the biggest culprits behind political inaction is the incredibly powerful gun lobby. Here's a graph showing the amount of money spent lobbying for gun rights versus gun control. And as you can see, the gun rights lobby massively outspends the gun control lobby. In addition, the NRA has spent millions upon millions on donations to around 24 Republican senators. The most egregious example being Mitt Romney, who has received over $13 million from the NRA. So, it's no surprise that when gun legislation comes up for a vote, these senators vote against any sort of common sense measures that might save lives, because they're beholden to the NRA and an incredibly radical minority that supports radical gun rights. And a lot of the time, it feels like we really don't live in a democracy. When we struggle with voter suppression, gerrymandering, lobbying, money from corporations and special interest groups, and the inequality of our votes, it feels like that instead of the people choosing the lawmakers, the top 1% are. I'm actually going to make a video on that in the near future, I think, about those particular issues, but also what we can do to end them. Because while it does feel like we are in an impossible situation, a paradox, there are ways out, and there even is hope in the darkest of places. But at this very moment, America is suffering from a gun violence epidemic. An epidemic that is destroying our communities. And if you still think that there is no problem, or that it's mental health, or doors, or video games, then you need to open your eyes and wake up. The signs are right there in front of you. Thank you all so much for watching this video. In the description of this video, I've linked an article with links to all the various funds that you can donate to help victims of the Highland Park July 4th shooting. Let's lift up the people in our communities that need help. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you have a good rest of your day, and I will talk to you all later.